Trying to stay properly informed these days, it can feel like a lot.
It really can. Just information coming from everywhere.
Exactly. And that's kind of where we come in with the deep dive. We try to take all that material. And today we've got some really important stuff on liver cancer symptoms and just pull out the key insights.
Right. And our mission with this one feels particularly vital, actually. It's about helping you understand those subtle signs, the early warnings of liver cancer that are so easy to miss.
Yeah, the ones people often brush off.
We're going to look at the details, see what the stats say, and figure out why these small changes matter so much.
Because this deep dive, it's really about equipping you, our listeners, with the knowledge about those early signs, the things you might mistake for just being tired or having indigestion.
Recognizing the clues before they shout at you, essentially.
So here's something to think about. Based on the material we've looked at, can you actually name, say, 5 subtle symptoms that might indicate liver cancer?
Tough, isn't it?
Most people can't. And that's exactly why we're digging into this today. Our sources really highlight how deceptive these early signs can be.
Which makes understanding them absolutely critical.
Yeah.
Let's start right there with that deceptiveness.
Okay.
The information we have really underlines how easily these signals get missed. Think about feeling tired all the time, fatigue.
Yeah. Who doesn't feel tired sometimes? We blame our schedule.
Exactly. But the potential cost of that dismissal, when it could be liver cancer, well, that's the key insight here.
And it's a serious cost. The data suggests something like, what, 70%?
Around 70%, yeah. Of liver cancer cases diagnosed late at advanced stages.
That's just staggering. And it's often because those first symptoms are such good mimics. That tiredness, maybe a bit of discomfort, seems like nothing.
Michael's story from our sources really brings it home. He was 42, building a business, young kids.
It's a familiar picture for many.
Totally. And for 8 months, he just put down his increasing fatigue, this ache under his right ribs. He put it down to stress, lack of sleep.
Thought a holiday would sort it out.
Yeah, he did. It wasn't until he started losing weight without trying that they looked deeper. And by then, stage 3.
Wow. It just shows how easy it is to rationalize these things away.
It does. And the material explains why the liver is so good at hiding problems. It's our body's chemical plant, isn't it?
Detoxifying blood, making protein, storing energy.
Yeah.
All vital stuff.
And here's the crucial bit from the sources. It has this incredible ability to keep working pretty well, even when it's quite damaged.
Right. It compensates.
It's a survival thing. Like, if part of a factory breaks down, the other parts work harder to keep production going.
But with cancer, that amazing ability actually hides the problem.
Exactly. Symptoms might not show up until things are quite advanced because the healthy liver tissue just picks up the slack.
So what's the key then for catching it earlier? The info points towards looking for symptom clusters.
Ah, yes. Not just one isolated thing.
Right. It's about noticing when seemingly unrelated things pop up together, like fatigue on its own might not ring alarm bells.
But fatigue plus, say, unexplained weight loss, plus that mild upper belly discomfort.
That pattern, that should be a red flag.
And the difference catching it early makes?
Yeah.
It's huge. The data shows 5-year survival rates jump from, well, less than 12% late stage.
To over 50% if it's caught early.
Over 50%. That really drives home why recognizing these early signs can literally save lives.
Okay, so let's get specific about that fatigue. How do you tell the difference between I'm just rundown fatigue and this potentially more serious kind?
Good question. The material gives us some pointers. First, it's persistent. It gets worse over weeks, maybe months.
Not just a bad week.
No. Second, rest doesn't really fix it. You sleep, but you still feel deeply exhausted.
That profound kind of tired.
Yes. And third, it often comes with other things like not feeling hungry or just a general sense of being unwell, malaise.
Like feeling off, but you can't quite pin down why.
Exactly. That's a key difference. It's not the tiredness that a weekend break fixes. People describe it as feeling heavy or like moving through mud.
I can imagine.
And it makes sense biologically, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The cancer cells are greedy, using up nutrients. And if the liver isn't working right, it can't convert energy properly.
So you get this metabolic disruption causing that deep, relentless exhaustion.
Precisely. And then often alongside or following this fatigue, you might get visual changes, things you can actually see.
Our sources call them the liver's silent alarm system. I like that.
It's fitting because these aren't just surface changes. They're potentially important clues. But again, they often get dismissed.
The bathroom mirror becomes a diagnostic tool, potentially.
It can be, yes. Take jaundice the yellowing.
Most people know that one's linked to liver issues.
They do. But the crucial thing is how subtly it can start. The info points out it often begins just in the whites of the eyes, the sclera.
So slight you might miss it or blame bad lighting.
Easily. By the time your skin looks obviously yellow, the problem's usually more advanced.
Okay. What else? Unexplained weight loss?
Yes. And this is key weight loss you didn't try for. You're eating normally, maybe even more, but the pounds are dropping off.
Why does that happen?
The sources suggest a mix of things. The cancer speeds up metabolism, appetite might decrease even if you don't notice, and the damaged liver struggles to absorb nutrients. The main thing is, it's persistent and unexplained.
Right. Then there's swelling in the abdomen as sites.
Yeah, and this isn't just normal bloating after a big meal.
How is it different?
The material explains its actual fluid buildup, caused by high pressure in a key liver blood vessel, the portal vein, and low levels of a protein called albumin.
Which normally keeps fluid in the blood vessels.
Exactly. So this swelling, unlike bloating, it doesn't really go away. It tends to get worse gradually, making the belly feel tight.
Okay. And skin changes too.
Sometimes, yes. The information mentions spider angiomas, little red spots with tiny radiating blood vessels, often on the chest or face.
Like little spiders.
Sort of, yeah. And also palmar erythema, a redness on the palms of the hands.
Why would those happen?
Believed to be due to hormone imbalances and changes in blood flow because the liver isn't processing things correctly.
So with all these visual signs, the key message from the sources is look for the pattern.
Absolutely. Don't dismiss things individually. Yellowish eyes, plus losing weight, plus maybe some swelling or skin changes. That whole picture, that constellation, is much more concerning.
Makes sense. We tend to explain away one thing, but the combination is harder to ignore.
Exactly. Now let's talk about pain. The sources call it a puzzle.
Another communication attempt from the body, right?
Yeah.
Specifically that upper right area of the abdomen.
Where the liver sits.
Yeah.
But interpreting that pain, that's the tricky part.
Because lots of things can cause pain there, can't they? Gallstones, reflux.
Precisely. The information highlights how often it gets mistaken for GERD, gallstones, even IBS. There's symptom overlap, which can lead to dangerous delays in diagnosis.
So what's the typical character of liver cancer pain according to the sources?
It's often described as a dull, persistent ache, right up there in the upper right quadrant. More like a pressure or a heaviness than a sharp stab.
Okay, a dull ache. And crucially,
It often doesn't get better with things like antacids. That's a really important differentiator from standard indigestion.
that's a key takeaway. Persistent upper right discomfort, not helped by indigestion remedies. Talk to your doctor.
Definitely. And the pain can change, can't it, as the tumor grows?
Yes, the info says it can stretch the liver's outer lining, the capsule, which is sensitive to pain. Then it can become more constant, maybe even radiate.
Ah, the referred pain idea, like the shoulder.
Exactly. The American Cancer Society notes pain near the right shoulder blade can be a sign. Seems odd, but the nerve pathways get crossed.
The brain gets confused about where the signal originates.
Elena's story in the source material illustrates this perfectly. 38-year-old thought she had bad acid reflux for months.
8 months, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was only when the pain started going to her right shoulder that they investigated properly and found the liver tumor.
Wow. Shows how important it is not to dismiss that radiating pain.
And the mechanics behind it.
Yeah.
Stretching that liver capsule, maybe pressing on bile ducts or the diaphragm.
All triggering pain signals through different nerve pathways. Fundamentally different from simple digestive upset.
So if we pull that pain information together, what are the warning signs?
Persistent pain, upper right abdomen, lasts weeks. Doesn't respond to indigestion meds, might radiate to the right shoulder or back.
And the quality is usually that dull, heavy ache that gets worse over time.
Right. The NHS mentions that too, pain in the top right tummy or right shoulder. And one more piece of the puzzle.
Feeling full really quickly.
Early satiety, yes.
Yeah.
American Cancer Society points this out. As the liver gets bigger, it can press on the stomach.
So you eat a small amount and feel stuffed. Another subtle clue.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because the stomach just has less room.
Okay, moving on to something maybe even more subtle. Hidden systemic effects.
Right. These are the paraneoplastic syndromes. Symptoms that seem completely disconnected from the liver.
Why do they happen?
The sources explain it well. Think of the tumor not just as a lump, but as a little biochemical factory.
Producing substances that affect the whole body.
Exactly. These substances get into the bloodstream and can cause all sorts of weird symptoms elsewhere. They're often missed because they seem so unrelated.
Like what, for instance?
Well, unexplained fever. Not from an infection, but because the tumor releases inflammatory things, cytokines.
So a persistent low-grade fever, maybe with night sweats or chills, but no obvious cold or flu.
Could be. Another one is blood sugar problems. The liver is crucial for that, and some tumors mess with it.
Leading to low blood sugar, hypoglycemia.
Yes, episodes of feeling dizzy, weak, confused, maybe even fainting. Could be the tumor gobbling up glucose or interfering with insulin somehow.
That's unexpected. And even hormonal changes.
Particularly mentioned is gynecomastia, breast enlargement in men.
Really? From liver cancer?
Apparently, some tumors can affect estrogen or testosterone levels. The info also mentions testicular shrinkage. Definitely not things you'd immediately link to your liver.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So the key here, again, is the pattern. These seemingly random things happening together.
Precisely. Fever, weird blood sugar dips, hormonal shifts. Considered together, they might point to an underlying issue like this.
And the sources remind us these symptoms are more likely to be significant if you have known risk factors, right?
Absolutely. History of Hep B or C, cirrhosis, fatty liver disease, diabetes, certain environmental toxins. If you have those and these strange symptoms, it warrants investigation.
Yeah, connect those dots with your doctor.
And a really important point the information makes. Sometimes these systemic effects, these paraneoplastic syndromes, can show up before the more obvious liver symptoms like jaundice or pain.
So they could be a very early warning.
They could. An early alarm bell, even if it sounds faint or strange, the challenge is recognizing it.
So wrapping this all up, the core message from this deep dive seems crystal clear.
Vigilance. Recognizing these subtle signs is crucial for early detection.
And that makes a massive difference. The stats you mentioned earlier, 35% 5-year survival for localized cancer versus just 12% once it's spread.
That's the stark reality from the National Cancer Institute data. Early detection dramatically improves odds.
And for people in those high-risk groups, Hep B or C, cirrhosis, certain inherited conditions.
The advice is clear. Talk to your doctor about regular screening. Ultrasounds, blood tests, maybe every 6 months. That's guidance echoed by the American Cancer Society.
Makes sense to be proactive if you know you're at higher risk.
Definitely.
So the final thought for you, our listener, really comes down to this. Early stage liver cancer, it rarely screams its presence, it whispers.
It's subtle.
Your awareness, your vigilance, and acting promptly if these symptoms appear. That could genuinely make all the difference. It's about listening closely to your body. And we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Bye, everyone.